Bishop Dewar, thank you so very much for coming on the Aaron Molan Show. We really appreciate your time.
Well, Aaron, thank you for having me. It's nice to join you from the other side of the world.
The other side. It's not as far away when you travel there as often as in fact, no, it's further when you're in a plane all the time. I'm actually in the UK next month, so looking forward to it, kind of. And Bishop, this is why I have you on, because the more I see of your once great nation, the more worried I become. Thank you for writing a letter that had to be written, and thank you for just skipping all the underlings and going straight to the top in terms of directing it towards the king. Tell me why you wrote the letter you wrote, and give my audience an idea of what was in it.
I've been prompted to write to His Majesty for several weeks. I've been mulling over what would be the time to do it, or how would I go about it. I'll add a little history for the perspective of understanding. 8 miles from my house, 9 weeks to the day that His Majesty became king. So 9 weeks the day before Her Majesty, our late Sovereign Lady, Queen Elizabeth, passed away, I had a conversation with the then Prince of Wales in a village 8 miles from where I live, talking about the future of the church in the United Kingdom and his concerns about the future of the church. And it seems that within a matter of months of him ascending to the throne, those concerns were very publicly thrown out of the window. And a lot of people in the United Kingdom, myself included, felt that because His Majesty has a fascination with certain elements of Islam, that there was really a leaning towards the Islamic faith or elements of it that was causing Christians significant concern, because he is the constitutional head of state and constitutionally the supreme governor of the Church of England. And, you know, the crown and the church go hand in hand in the nation. You cannot have one without the other. So I've watched as things have played out over the last 3 years. I've watched as this country has seen a rapid and rapidly accelerating decline and all-out assault on Christian values, Christian traditions, Christian laws and principles, even the Christian church and the Christian faith. I've watched as the state church, the Church of England, has sold out its soul to allow the proclamations of false gods and false worships from its places of worship, and even this week from its high altars. And when I listen to the rapidly rising Green Party that have aligned themselves with a deputy leader and Islamic men that I consider to be on the fundamentalist scale, announcing that if they win power, they intend to disestablish the church and remove Christianity as the national religion here in the United Kingdom, and with rumors of the now Starmer regime, because they're not a government in my books anymore, contemplating removing the bishops from the House of Lords. It was, for me, and for all intents and purposes, just a step too far. And then to see, finally, the straw that broke the camel's back was our Islamic mayor of London bowing in worship and prayer at the Iftar on Trafalgar Square, where the Adhan was proclaimed loud and bold. And as Nick Timothy, the Conservative MP, proclaimed, and rightly so, that the Adhan prayed in such a way, increasingly around the country, where Muslims are abandoning their mosques and taking to the streets to shut streets down and block traffic and goodness knows what to pray the Adhan. That is an act of domination. There's nothing within the Quran that teaches them to do that. There's nothing in the Hadiths that teach them to do that. In fact, the only indications of it are, if you want an unofficial book, it's for a page directly out of the Islamist playbook for dominating a culture or dominating a community. And that was just it. I got to the point, so on the 17th of March, St. Patrick's Day, I woke up and I just had this overwhelming stirring in my spirit. And as I said to His Majesty in the letter, there are moments in the life of a nation where silence can be seen as a betrayal. And if I refused to, or if I didn't speak to His Majesty, that this would be considered such a moment. And that's what birthed the letter. And I was stunned by the way in which the British public have rallied behind it, and so many millions of people feel like I spoke on behalf of a nation, addressing our sovereign.
And then I look at your Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, in the midst of all of this and so much uncertainty, the war in Iran, domestic terror, so many people feeling like you're losing your culture, your sense of self. He says on video that he wants more Muslim members of parliament to come in. He's actively pursuing that. That to me, I mean, suicidal empathy, Dr. Gard Saad just puts it brilliantly. Where does it end? And I'm afraid of the answer.
Well, the answer is quite simple. Take a look at Iran in 1979 and you see where Britain's heading. There's no other way. We have two dangerous moments in the political spectrum here in the United Kingdom, because you have the current Labour government and the Labour Party is so cozied up to the Islamic community, largely for money and votes. There was great scandals within Keir Starmer's first year about his relationship with Lord Ali, a practicing Muslim, about the amount of money that Lord Ali had put into various members of the Labour Party, particularly the cabinet. And now we have this unholy alliance that is formed between the Green Party, who are no longer an environmental party. They are very much on what I will consider the communist spectrum. They've gone beyond socialism to full-blown communism, and they have aligned themselves with a group of Islamic men that I truly would consider to be on the fundamentalist spectrum, or scale, I should say. And the danger of that is the replaying in Britain and, for all intents and purposes, a lot of Western Europe, although thankfully some of the countries in continental Europe are beginning to fight back at last, but is it too little too late for some of them? But you've only got to look to what happened in Iran in 1979. You know, the socialist plan of revolution and enacted against the Shah. They bring in the Islamics from Arabia and surrounding areas to back them up. And the moment that they've achieved the revolution and taken control, what happens? The Islamists turn on the socialists and executed them all.
The first people they kill are those who helped put them in the position to be able to do so.
Yeah, and this is where I fear. I've spoken for several years on my growing concerns that Britain is rapidly heading towards a sectarian civil war. And in the last 2 weeks, we've now had, a retired colonel.
Colonel Richard Kemp.
Yeah, who's come out and said, in far more detail, talked about the very thing that myself and a few others have been speculating on for several years. And I cannot lay the blame solely at Starmer. This is something that the Labour Party under Blair in 97 opened the door to, and it's been part of the globalist playbook since the mid-90s to destabilize the United Kingdom, and in fact any Christian country or a country built on strong Christian principles. It's the playbook to destabilize them, and they've been enacting it since the mid-90s. What we've seen in the last, let's say, 10 years is a massive upscaling of that offensive through various means like mass illegal immigration and how what astounds me is we have a prime minister who's a former human rights lawyer, which off the record is the worst kind of lawyer in my opinion.
The first thing I thought was, oh no, oh no.
But as a former director of public prosecutions, you cannot get your mind around the fact that a man who held that position is so easily turning a blind eye to the full extent of the law and only utilizing the bits that they want to in terms of crushing dissent and silencing anybody who doesn't toe the party political narrative anymore, as we've seen for the last 20 months in the United Kingdom.
It's criminal. And you talk about, this Muslim Brotherhood doctrine, which is to go in any way, shape or form, softly, slowly, maybe fast when the opportunity presents itself. Education, social media, migration, they've laid it all out. It's not like anyone can say, we had no idea this was coming. The other attribute that they have, these people who wish to destroy everything that we value, that we don't have as much of, is patience. They are so patient. And you're right, Iran is the greatest analogy, because one day we'll wake up and go, holy hell, it's too late. And New York City, the exact same thing is happening.
My request is simple. It's written in my letter to him. You swore an oath as the defender of the faith. Live up to your oath. It's plain and simple. I've had so many people call me a coward because I didn't mention Islam. That wasn't why I wrote. I'm not singling out any individual group or any individual religion. I'm reminding the king that you swore a solemn oath before Almighty God in a church, a cathedral church. You swore an oath to him and to your people as defender of the faith. And you are defending faiths, but not the one you swore an oath to. So all my request is really simple. All I'm asking is, Your Majesty, honor the oath you swore, because your people, as I wrote in the letter, your people are they're not looking for religious coercion. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for a sovereign to hear their cry and respond accordingly, instead of ignoring what the people are saying.
What would you ask your Prime Minister to do right now?
Resign. Do the country a favor. Resign. And I've got to be honest, Aaron, I've never felt so strongly about it. We have a country, if they have any credibility about them whatsoever, and they've proven it, that they don't. But if they had any credibility whatsoever, they would give the people what the people want, which is a general election. This government has come to power on the promise of a false manifesto, thrown that manifesto out of the window the moment they've got power, and are only doing what they want to do. They are not doing what is in the best interest of the United Kingdom. There are so many elements of what they are doing to prove that they're not. I mean, you look, right? We're in the middle of a war right now. We have a government that today have admitted that Iran has ballistic weapons that could reach the United Kingdom. They've attacked Diego Garcia and tried to cover it up so that the British public wouldn't know. An island that they're trying to hand over to a nation that's had no sovereign claim to it whatsoever, and weaken our defenses. We've got a justice secretary who's destroying the justice system with the measures that he's planning. We've got an absolute lunatic of a politician, Ed Miliband, that is in charge of our energy at a time when oil prices and gas prices are shooting through the roof. They're not increasing production in the United Kingdom. They want to shut oil and gas production down altogether and ship it off to another country, so that we are a nation that could have energy independence and be absolutely reliant on other sources. It is absolutely ludicrous, all because they're pushing radicalist ideologies instead of using common sense and fighting for what is in the best interest of the people that have elected them to be there. Now, I've said this publicly. I've said it on a stage in Trafalgar Square in front of tens of thousands of people, and I keep reiterating it. Those politicians that sit on the green benches of the House of Commons need to remember one thing. They govern by consent. And it is very clear that the majority of the people in the United Kingdom have withdrawn their consent to be governed by this government. They need to go.
Brilliantly put. I often refer to the likes of Carney, Macron, Albanese, Starmer as just wet spinach, as so weak, as responsible for so much pain and suffering globally, domestically. Pick your place. Starmer now takes the pick. What I've seen from him over the past 2-3 weeks has been embarrassingly disgraceful and dangerous in ways that were unimaginable to me prior, and that's saying something.
The reality is the people have seen, and they've seen through it. And now that sleeping lion that was Britannia is slowly beginning to wake up. But that waking is becoming more rapid as each day passes. And heaven forbid, I'm not advocating for violence in any way, shape, or form. But I will say this, heaven forbid any government that refuses to listen to this people, because the British people are awake. They are not stupid. They are not going to be subdued. And as I've stood just yards from number 10 Downing Street and proudly proclaimed, we are a people that will not be governed by tyranny. We will not sit down. We are sons and daughters of this great land, a land that is ancient and storied, washed with the blood of martyrs, both here and abroad, that have fought for the freedoms and protections that this government is trying to take those from us. And this is a people that when they fight back, or when they push back, I should say, not fight back, heaven help any politician that stands in their way.